right, everybody, all of my WWE fans. Jade Cargill is a part of WWE now. It's official. Um, so I guess it's really just more so of like, what is it that she do, or how is it that we get her in WWE? Now, as far as her character, I'm like they're pretty much just gonna bring over the character. I feel like from AEW, where she's gonna be some dominant force, all that jazz. So with that, I was like, one of like how like where does she show up? How does she show up? And what do you do with her to instantly make her like a viable threat? Now, sort of, I sort of wish that I was like we all know that she's over here in the WWE. I guess one of them things of the WWE publicize it, or even though we know they don't say nothing, and they just like have her be like a surprise. I mean, you can still have her be a surprise too. Like this news feed, it'll go away, kind of thing. I think, I seen people being like, "Oh, she need to be in NXT. She's like really green. They need to," and I was like, and I thought about it. And at first, I was thinking, I was like, she should she should go to NXT. I guess learn the WWE way or whatever you want to call it, the approach of how we do all the stuff. But then also too, I'm like, she's been wrestling in AEW for like several years in a way that she's not green like the other people over the other people that are in NXT. And also it also think make a difference between what this NXT is versus the black and gold version. Because this one you're not really getting like you're not really getting too many high profile people from elsewhere as much as you used to. Yes, there still is like the drama. I can't. Yeah, I keep messing his name up. He's the NXT champion now, but Dragonoff or Dragon Lee, who done stuff elsewhere and it came here, but they also aren't. I feel like big names maybe to like some of us. Uh, but at the same time, there's only a couple where the rest of them are actually sort of, I was like, youngsters here. Whereas like, where you was getting Shinsuke Nakamura or Drew McIntyre, Bobby Roode, those older people that they decide to put in NXT and build themselves up in that way. And I feel like if it was that NXT, not only with the fact that you needed like you would have older people come through and like let them be down there and dominate and all this other stuff, but also the kind of matches and the kind of environment that it was, where it was way more serious and way more of a I want to say a credible threat in a way that's like, yes, it always was like the third roster and it was developmental, but I was like, you could remember a time with like that and the takeovers and stuff like that where it was serious, where it felt also just as good as a WWE pay-per-view, sometimes even better. Now I was like, no, this one this sort of just feels like WWE developmental, even though they'll put more stars from the main roster down there and have them actually do stuff. Becky Lynch got the title, Baron Corbin's been down there. So even though they've done that more here, it still just feels like it's for like the newly wrestlers are getting into the WWE, let them go in there. So why would she necessarily go down there being like a main star in that type of way? But I can also see like if you let her go down there and just let her just immediately come in, take over, dominate for a period, then you call her up, then I think she'll have just of a name with, I guess, the WWE universe. Cause I like, that WWE universe is, I was like, not all of them is like fans where they know like AW people or who's all in NXT. So you gonna call her up and stuff like that. I was like, depending on the crowd you got, depending on what you're doing, they may or may not know. But if you come up from NXT, you got a little bit of a build where it's like you'll have some of the main roster people come down there and stuff like that, to where you get, I was like, they'll showcase you a little bit more on the main roster and stuff like that, like how Dragon Lee had a championship match against Dom. So I could see if it worked in the right way. I just don't think it feels as great as it used to be, where you had Baszler and Rhea and Bianca and Io and Dakota, like when they was all down there. You don't really have that same amount of women. You got Stratton, Nikita sort of hurt, uh, but they're still sort of raw in what they are in a way that Jade seems too big for that. She does. She just seems too big for that. So now I'm now kind of like, okay, cool. She should main event. I mean, she should be on main roster. But then that becomes difficult too. And the spot is sort of weird because I think, for instance, like she needs to be like, say I was like, I think that maybe she needs to be on like a pay per view, but say she just ends up on the show. Raw will probably be the best place, but Rhea's really the only person on there. I mean, she's the champion, but also too, do you want to just basically have Rhea? Like, I mean, if there was going to ever be a time, it would be her beating up Rhea. But Rhea's sort of at the height of her stuff with Judgment Day. They're still going. And so, like, do you want, like, it would have to be really right for that one. Whereas on, like, SmackDown to me got a lot more competition. They got Charlotte, they got Asuka, they got Bianca. So they EO got it right now. They got Bailey. I was like, Dakota's on the shelf right now. But you get what I'm saying? That's at least, like, 5 people right here and there. Whereas Raw really only got is Rhea. I don't like Raquel can just be, because they could do the whole big matchup thing again. Big beefy people matching up. But then that's really it. I don't think Nia's going to really be here that long. I like Shayna hasn't really, like they haven't really pumped her up in a way where she's, so she still is like, eh. Zoe is still new, so obviously you don't want to really squash her momentum that she's trying to get. Piper's not doing anything enough to be credible, unless it's just one of those like, oh, she could lift up this like big woman. That's it. And there's Becky, but I was like, to me that might be like a later match, or see how that go with Becky and Rhea, because I was like, I feel like that's where everybody's sort of waiting on. But me personally, I don't know when she should show up at. I guess to me, I was like, I could think of like two spots. Obviously, we know the Royal Rumble, so I'm not even going to bother talking about the Royal Rumble, because we all figure that she could come in there and that'd be a big thing and that'd be cool and whatever it is. I was wondering if she should come out in a way that's like not expected, but also something significant. Like, for instance, I'm like, they're going to do a war game match, with Judgment Day and probably KO, Sammy, Jay, and Cody. Cool. Are they going to do one for the women? Now, I was like, obviously, who will be on the women's side? That also sort of difficult, so that's why it's sort of hard to do. But in saying that, if almost like NXT's War Games, like a few years ago, where it was the Undisputed with Tommaso Ciampa and Keith Lee and Dijak, and they needed another person. Who was this another person? It was KO, and everybody went crazy. Maybe you can do something like that where it's like they need a 4th member, but who's going to be the 4th member? Who's going to be the 4th member? We all will have a suspicion, but if it's Jay, that could be a big pop, and that could be her thing where she just comes in, decimate everybody, and help them win War Game. But this is also a pipe dream, because who, like I said, we don't have no feud or no thing with women. They haven't. I was like, to me, the closer would have been Damage Control, but Dakota Kai hurt, and even then, it's just 3 people. So that's sort of difficult. Obviously, said Royal Rumble. Maybe it's something where they could do the women's championship, because SmackDown looked like it's heading like that way, and where they might have an elimination chamber match with all the women. Kind of gonna be it seems like it's gonna be Io, Charlotte, Asuka, Bianca, Bailey. That's 5 right there. And then that's where it's like, who's the 6th person? Who's the 6th person? Jade. I mean, now granted, would she have to win that match? I mean, maybe you could have her win that match, but don't have her like pin Io, but she could beat Bayley or Charlotte, and that way, those two are established enough where she could beat them. They don't take a hit, but it gives a boost to Jade because she beat two of the legends of the game, and you can sort of save Io, and you can save Bianca for Jade, and even Asuka too, because Asuka's like never like the main boss, but she's like the boss you got to meet to play the boss, that kind of thing. Um, so I was like, so that's to me. I was like, that's the place I could see. Obviously, because that was really the only pay per views. I was like after Fastlane until like WrestleMania. Um, but what I also would love if they do Jay like how they did Paige when she first came up, where AJ Lee had a little like call out like who's gonna come and get this championship, blah 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 blah, and Paige answers it. She just got called up, cool, whatever, and then she just beats AJ and is now the champion. I think that's how I would like it. I would like if they did something like that. I don't know if it's at any of these places. I was like I said, Royal Rumble, you're not gonna do it. War Games, no, not that. Elimination Chamber, you could pull that type of trigger, or like whether or not she goes to NXT, because I think that'd be cool. Either way about if they did the Paige thing, but at WrestleMania, I was like, say Io keeps it. Io has ran through everybody. There's nobody for Io to face. And or no, not Io. Rhea gets to WrestleMania, beating everybody. She done beat Becky Lynch and all that other stuff. Cause they done changed their mind because they don't want there to be a WrestleMania match. She done beat everybody. Who's going to come and defeat Mommy and all this stuff? You know what? Maybe I'll have an open challenge myself on WrestleMania Day. Jay comes out. WrestleMania, biggest thing. Out of everybody, millions and millions of people coming in to see. And that's when she beat who's been the dominant champion over a year. That's how it is. Bam. I just booked it. There we go. I got it. I was like, I like my Elimination Chamber ideas. But if I had to rank them, I was like WrestleMania, Elimination Chamber. I was like War Games, if they came up with something. Royal Rumble, mainly because it's just so obvious. But Royal Rumble, they could have her come in here and just dominate and get the, like the over rope record. She makes it to the Final Four and loses. Whatever, something like that. Anyway, I'm excited to see her coming through. I was like, I think it'll be cool to see how, cause I think, cause I was like, this is sort of to me what I think the women's division needed something. I do understand like they're the complaints, and I don't think that they're wrong. And to me, I think top heavy is WWE's women's division but I think AEW has more of a plethora of women that are sort of interesting. In AEW, either way, neither one of them promote. But I was like, with WWE, I think some of the problem is like, for instance, like Raquel and Rhea should be they should be getting sort of the same reaction that Otis and Bronson Reed get when they're over here hitting each other, where they're like two big sets of people hitting each other. But it's a little lackluster, and I think there's just not that much variety or personality, I should say, as far as like them go. And I was like, Jade at least is a personality. Yes, she's sort of big in the way of Raquel, Bianca, and Rhea. I was like, Charlotte sorta, and Nia Jax now she's a sort of different type of big, in that sense. So I think this will help give them another person immediately who you always know is in that rotation. And to me, I was like, you always need like at least a good 5 or so up at the top, at least with the women's division, not counting the men and all like that. But I was like, since there's only like you got the 2 titles, you got to have a good amount of 5 people that way, and then some new people, and this will help in both of those situations. Anyway, what do you think Jay should do when she comes in? I was like, you like any of my ideas, or you got your own? I was like, maybe you got a better way of handling her in the NXT type of thing. Maybe she goes down there and she gets called up for like Elimination Chamber, or they make that like a whole like tournament or something, and she gets like shot that way or wrestling. Anyway, just let me know what you think. If you like this video, I appreciate it. Thanks. If not, hey, maybe next time. But until then, I'll see you.